Welcome to the ATYL Media channel. My name is Taylor Kitchen, and right here on this platform, we're doing motorsports media your way, talking about Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, short track racing, anything you can think of. We're probably talking about it right here on the ATYL Media channel. We're doing something a little different today. As you all know, I love talking to those within the industry, people that have been around for a little bit, people that are newer to the scene, and today is one of those cases where I am so excited to talk to a very young driver that is making his way through the NASCAR ranks, currently racing in the NASCAR Youth Series, getting some experience under his feet. He's been racing since he was 5 years old. I mean, he just has such a passion and appreciation for the sport and learning about the sport and the craft that goes into racing what he races. We're going to talk all about that and more, but I am so happy to welcome right now Kedryn Evenson to the show. Kedryn, how you doing?
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And I saw a few weeks ago you picked up a heat win in one of your NASCAR Youth Series races. Congrats on that. What was that win like for you, especially in that tribute scheme that you had to your hometown?
Running the unrestricted animal class, last year we ran, instead of running the animal classes, we ran the 160 classes. So going back to the animal, it felt good. And also being the hometown tribute car, it really felt even more special. Yeah.
Yeah, I would think like when you're able to win a race with your tribute, whether it's to your hometown or even just like a loved one, that has to be super special. So it was awesome to see you get that win. And I really want to learn more about the NASCAR Youth Series, how this has helped you currently racing in quarter midgets in that series. You hear about drivers like Joey Logano and Terry Labonte, for instance, who kind of started their career racing in quarter midgets. So I'm curious for you, what has been the benefit of racing at that level, and how have you enjoyed your experience in the NASCAR Youth Series so far?
So just try to get used to driving a race car in general. Obviously, going in circles multiple times, getting your line down to an art, and just being able to drive the same line on and on and on and not messing up or anything. I think that's the biggest thing in the youth series, as well as being quick at it to show that, hey, I'm like here, as people would say.
It is super important at this stage where you're at in your career, a very young career, might I add, as of at least right now. I know you started racing when you were 5 and now you're 13, but it's important to really get people to know who you are. And you talked about how with this series, you're learning how to run your line on the racetrack to a T, to an art. How long has it taken you to kind of figure out what line to run at certain tracks? Like, does it take months or years, or how long does it take you to kind of perfect that?
Well, my home track at Kokomo or KQMC, I started there when I was 5, or actually 4.5, but
My
it was
goodness.
just being 5, I kind of didn't know what I was doing in as such. So running, just going in circles and obviously trying to not wreck or do anything wrong.
Right.
But once you get into like the junior classes and the senior classes where it's more competitive and stuff, that's where you try to get your line, because everybody who you're racing still runs a, as we'd say, good line. But being able to go high on the straightaways and being able to cut down in the corners and stuff, and running a line that's not preventing speed or just not letting other people have a chance to stick it in there on you. It's just hard, especially when you're like leading and stuff, to because quarter midgets, they don't have mirrors, and so it's kind of hard to see, okay, where's this person gonna go and stuff.
This might be a really silly question, but do you guys have spotters for these quarter midget races, or are you kind of on your own?
On my own. Well, the only radio we have is the race officials, but on the so quarter midgets, there's the obviously the track, and then there's the pit lane, which is, it's kind of like the Clash. So you have the circle, and then the pit lane's like out here, and then it's all through here. So in the pit lane, handlers or the people who work on our cars stand like not on top of the wall but behind the wall, and they'll do like hand signals. You can't do them under green, but I think it's sprint cars. They put a cone on the track. It's the same thing. So there's a dot. So some people use this, meaning don't hit the dot and remember, think, and just different stuff like that. But no, we don't have verbal communication where it's like, car on the outside.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of think about like the hand signals you were using, like tapping on the nose or tapping on your head to think. You kind of think about that almost like in football, they have the hand signals to call plays. It's kind of how I equate that to a little bit. I know you're taking on the full NASCAR Youth Series schedule this season. What tracks are you looking forward to the most? And which tracks are you looking forward to maybe returning to this year in your racing career?
So returning to probably Indy. Indy's always a classic. It's the biggest race and most important race of the schedule. If you don't do good there in a class, you pretty much don't have a chance to win a championship because you can't. So there's 8 races this year. There's a level 1 race, which is Indy, and there's only one of those, so you can't drop it. Well, then Vegas, which I was just at, it's Vegas and Charlotte, and those are level 2 races, but you can drop one. And then the other 5 are Wall, New Jersey, Castle Rock, Washington, Richmond, Talladega, and Topeka, Kansas. And those 5, you can drop 3 and you keep 2. So those are the ones that are like, if we do bad here, oh, it's not okay, but it's like we're still relieved because we have so much more races to go on too. So
Yeah, it's got to be nice to have a little bit of that wiggle room, a little bit of forgiveness when you're trying to go to some of these tracks for the first time, maybe the second time. For of those tracks, which one are you excited for like the most? I know you mentioned the hometown one, but I gotta imagine, racing in Talladega has got to be fun too.
so we've last year we raced at on the schedule Talladega and stuff, and that one wasn't a bad track. We just couldn't figure out setup and stuff at the beginning of the weekend, and it came back to bite us. But we still got decent finishes there, which I wasn't mad about. Being, I think it was the second year I've ran in the National Series, so it's definitely the National Series is like really, really competitive. Best driver for the country. So finishing mid pack, it's not terrible, but it's not as good as getting first, second, or third. But uh probably what I'm looking forward to is Richmond,
Mm.
since it was on the schedule last year, but it rained out and we never made it up. So probably that one because it's I've just never been there. And then the other ones, so Topeka, Washington, and New Jersey, those are all pre-made tracks because so the ones at the NASCAR races, they are pretty much made in a parking lot, so they're all flat and they just make the wall and just create it from a parking lot. But then the other ones are pre-made, so there's going to be some baking and some other stuff that you wouldn't see on the NASCAR tracks.
And that's got to be really exciting. And I know kind of detouring this a little bit, but kind of learning more about you and what you do outside of the race car. You are so involved in everything that you do at school. Straight A student. Got to know, what's your favorite subject to learn? I'm curious.
To learn, probably right now, in my science class, we're learning chemistry, and
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
it's getting to me a little bit, but it's fun to learn because you combine all these elements and stuff and see explosions.
So have you done like any cool experiments in class, like the volcano, anything like that?
So the non-honor students, they did it, but later in the year we're gonna have a roller coaster project coming up and to build a roller coaster. So I kind of know the aerodynamics and stuff to do there. So I kind of have like a little edge, but
Yeah, I mean, that kind of leads into my next question, talking about how you kind of have an edge on your classmates a little bit with kind of understanding aerodynamics. Are there things that you're learning in the classroom, in your honors classes, that you are able to take to the racetrack and have an advantage sometimes on your competitors?
I can't think of anything, but probably in the years to come, just because we're learning more advanced stuff and other such like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would think as well, the ability to just learn at such a high level, from what I've understood of like you and taking those honors courses, being able to just kind of be a sponge and soak up knowledge is something that you definitely need at your level and where you're racing. So it's cool to see kind of what you're doing in the NASCAR Youth Series right now, and something I'm very curious about. what was the decision like to race in that series as opposed to another league? What was it about the NASCAR Youth Series that you were like, I gotta race in this league?
Well, so it all started when I wasn't even born yet. So my mom's dad, or such as my grandpa, he since ever since he found out that I was a boy, he uh he started searching for racing, just racing series online that kid like being at a young age could do, and he came across quarter midgets. At the time, it was owned by USAC, and so he told my mom, he's like, "Hey, this is what your son's gonna be doing at 5 years old." He's like, "What? He isn't even born yet. He doesn't even know what he wants to do." And then at 4.5, he got me my first quarter midget. We went to Kokomo, tested it, uh, did good other than seeing the red flag and not stopping and pulling off and slamming into a tire barrier, but I was fine there.
Good, that's
But
good.
yeah, but then it just kept going, enjoyed it even more and more, figured out different series, started racing in the Midwest Thunder Series, which is regional level, won 3 championships in that, went to the Dixie Series, only ran that for 1 year, and now we're here in the national level. So
But you've moved up pretty quickly in your career, quite honestly. Like, is that surprised you how quickly you've been able to move up?
I wouldn't say, just because just running at Kokomo, being able and Kokomo being such tiny, us finding different series and getting other people from all over the country and getting more experience to be able to learn off of mistakes and stuff. Just moving at the quick level, I feel like now, since we're at the National Series like 2 years ago, being at my first year in the National Series, I feel like I just learned rapidly compared to people who run club events all year long, as they're just racing the exact same people. But yeah.
Yeah, you're getting experience at the national level. And now at the national level, I know this is looking way down the road here, but what's the ultimate dream for you? What is your hope for your racing career?
So my ultimate goal is to be involved in some sort of racing, either driving behind the wheel, being in the garage, being in the pit box, or just something related to racing. It doesn't matter in me being smart, being able to be a mechanic, which is something that I want to go to college for, like
Awesome.
mechanical engineering, and Purdue's new motorsports engineering, really looking into that. My ultimate goal is just to be in racing in any way.
And you said one of your goals is to maybe work on the cars someday, want to go to college to be an engineer. Have you been able to work on your own cars as you've kind of gone up through the ranks, and have you found joy in that?
Yeah, so now this year, starting to learn. I mean, I've done it ever since we moved to Ultimate QM, working on the cars, learning how to see stagger, knowing what changing the right heights does, knowing what gear does, changing the gear and stuff. But and then changing the shock level and stuff. But yeah, I definitely enjoy it. It's fun, but I don't do it as much as I'd like to, but at some parts I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm sure even too finding that balance between focusing on schoolwork, focusing on driving, be able to work on the cars, and just doing things outside of racing as well. Trying to find that balance has to be tough to find as much time as you want to work on these cars. But I'm curious, what's next on your schedule? What's coming up for you?
So next race is Talladega, which, like I said, is a level 3, so not as much pressure as but still would like to win, be able to be like, okay, one of our 2 races for the level 3s are automatically locked in, since, well, we got the most points possible. But it's not as much pressure as what Charlotte was, but I definitely say it's still pressure being national level and stuff.
For sure. There's going to be some pressure there for sure, but hopefully it's a good weekend for you. Kedryn, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. How can the folks listening in, tuning in, how can they find you on social media? Where can they find you to keep following your journey?
We have a Facebook and Instagram page. It's Super K Motorsports. You'll find all the latest racing events that I will be going on, heat races, if we have to go to a lower main results, A main results, and all of the above. So,
Well, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
thank you.
That was NASCAR Youth Series driver Kedryn Evenson. Appreciate his time, and I appreciate you tuning in and listening to this episode on the ATYL Media channel. For more content from us, make sure to go to AboveTheYellowLine.com and make sure to subscribe to this channel, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. It's at ATYL Media. Also check us out on Instagram as well. For more from me personally, make sure to follow at Above the Yellow Line or at _Taylor Kitchen_ on all social media platforms. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode, and until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.